Happy Friday, everybody. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. We going live from Midtown Manhattan. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. Before we get this party started today, and we got booze in the house, it is going to be a party. I've had like 4 shots already. Before I introduce my guest today, the message, in fact, today is the question of the week. I usually do a message. Last week I forgot, so we're gonna bring it in a little bit so I don't get on the spot. This actually is prompted by a very successful LinkedIn post of mine from earlier in the week dealing with entrepreneurship, and I've been asking a lot of questions on there lately, and it's been stirring the pot, and it's really cool. I'll get your feedback on it in a minute.
Sure thing.
What's up, Rob Merritt? How you doing? Good to have you. What is behind the spirit of an entrepreneur? In this case, spirits. My guest today has many spirits. He's slightly possessed. They exist inside that beer. Stroke that beard a little bit. I don't get beard envy much.
Shake it out.
But Kevin and I have been in competition for some years now.
Oh, 5 years, 6 years.
It's gone back and forth. Who's got the longest beard? He's got me beat today. I had this summer. I was like, I gotta let the birds free.
Trust me.
To let him out.
You got some work to do.
So think about that question. We're going to attempt to answer it over the course of this show. Perhaps we'll get a little help from our spiritual advisor here.
Right there.
Today, my guest is Kevin Herson, owner, head of Doc Spirit, a New York City-based distillery with the emphasis on absinthe, which is like super classic and like 18th century. That's how old.
Yes,
that's how old his beard is. He's been growing it since the 1780s, back when he started making absinthe. And kind of pioneered the city absinthe scene. There's not many other people really doing that. We'll talk a little bit more about the proliferation of distillation in the 5 boroughs in New York State a little later in the show. But Kevin's really been at the forefront of that, and especially in particular with absinthe and some very unique and interesting cordials, which I've had lately, which I'm going to vouch for. They're really awesome. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. So without further ado, my spiritual entrepreneur, Kevin Herson. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic.
Welcome,
How
welcome.
You doing today? Thanks for having me.
Really awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from first to begin?
You want to go that far
Let's
back?
go that far back. 1780s. You were born in...
Yes, exactly. I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how long ago, though.
Your beard tells the story,
exactly.
Sir.
Moved to the U.S.
It's like the rings on a tree. If you're not watching Facebook Live, you're missing out on this.
100%. Absolutely. So born and raised Johannesburg, South Africa, moved to the U.S. My family immigrated in the mid-'80s. They're all in Southern California, and I have been in New York for just about 11 years now.
But you were in California for a little while first, right?
I was in California for 20-some-odd years. And then, like I say, came out to New York just about 11 years ago. And we started this project, my wife and I, just over 8 years ago now. So
nice. Awesome. What brought you to New York City from Southern California?
I was just looking for a change, man.
Yeah.
I had, lived in New York.
All that sunshine. So
exactly.
I get it. The beard was too hot. You were like, we need to find a climate where this beard can survive.
Exactly. My favorite thing is when my wife asked me in the wintertime, do you need a scarf? And I'm like, please, do me a favor. You told him. Look at me.
1 year.
I got a scarf right here.
Right, exactly. 1 year when I had a really, really long goatee. I think when you met me, my goatee was like pretty long.
Goatee and the hair was long too.
Yeah. That Halloween, I decided to be a pirate, and my wife went to get me like the headgear and stuff from a Halloween shop on First Ave, and they were like, "Don't you want the beard stuff too?" And she's like, "We don't need it." And I already had stuff hanging in it. I was prepped and ready to go.
Oh, you had the whole Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean thing going on.
So I empathize with you. What part of Southern California were you in?
Back and forth between Los Angeles and Orange County.
Gotcha.
So that whole area.
And the beard wasn't flying there.
You know what? The beard was flying back and forth, but it was never as intense as it is now. This beer has been 2 years or so.
So we're actually not going to talk about distillation or entrepreneurship.
Yeah, we're talking about beard growing.
We're just going to talk about, there's this thing like the...
How do you think it grows?
Yeah, right. Just pour a little absinthe on it.
Yeah.
No, there's like this competition every year in Brooklyn. I think it's probably in Bushwick. It sounds like a very Bushwick
probably.
thing. It's like
Bushwick
a
or
beard
Bed-Stuy or
competition.
something.
Yeah. And like one year this guy won. He made a bowl out of his beard and he was eating
But you've seen these
cereal
crazy, oh God, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
But you've seen
You
these
think?
crazy beard contests over in Europe and stuff like that when
No,
they
haven't.
like have twirly beards and all this kind of nonsense. Yeah,
Mine's purely functional.
Mine is just, yeah, exactly. Mine's just for the winter time is all.
So where did the passion for, or I don't know, I'm assuming it's a passion. You kind of have to have some interest in it to take it on as a career and go down this path, right? Where did let's say your interest in spirits and alcohol begin besides high school and
besides enjoying it? I've been in and out of the restaurant industry and bartending.
So
and
talk
all
about
that
a little bit, yeah, because that's the same for me, and that seems to plant the seed for a lot of really awesome things.
Absolutely, yeah. I think so. I've been in and out of the restaurant industry, whether it's bartending, waiting. My first restaurant gig was for Lowry's. It was actually part of the Beverly Hills Lowry's.
Wow.
But it was in Orange County, their sister restaurant. And my first gig was actually a busboy.
Yeah,
I worked as a busboy for a couple years, worked my butt off. And over time, I said to the manager, they had wine stewards and sommeliers over there. And I said, listen, I'm tired of being a busboy. Any shot at becoming a wine steward, a wine captain, they called it. And the manager, I remember his name, this is 20 years ago, Chris Cheney, said to me, he's like, well, you got absolutely zero experience. I said, well, I'm one of those guys that takes it upon myself to learn. So I said to him, listen, I tell you what, I'll go and I'll pay for a week or 10 days, give me off. I'll pay my way. I'll go to Napa Valley. If you have any connections, you can set me up with, tours or barrel taste. Anyway, long story short, I drove myself out to Napa Valley. Every morning I hit the grocery store, got a massive loaf of olive bread, fresh baked, and a big old gallon of water. And I hit the road and I went and visited all the wineries. And he had set up private tours. So I kind of got into the whole wine world back 20 years or so. And then, like I said, through college, through high school, through everything, more bartending, et cetera, and always enjoyed food and cooking and spending time in the kitchen. My family, everyone in my family loves to cook. So we're very food-oriented family. And then as that developed, over the years, got to New York. My wife and I were living in Harlem at the time. We had the bottom floor of a brownstone and a basement. I started experimenting with booze and distillation as a hobbyist in the basement.
Did you burn anything down?
No, not yet. Besides my liver, besides my liver and my esophagus, no. So, out of a hobbyist distiller, we kind of went into the absinthe making thing. And really, distillation is basically cooking, but cooking with alcohol. It's like creating recipes, et cetera.
And very, very controlled because alcohol cooks off before water. So
absolutely.
There's a really specific temperature you need to get it out to capture the qualities and the things that you want, and to leave the alcohol in, because if you go too far, then you got some funky tasting water.
Absolutely. And we made a ton of crappy booze in the beginning, and we used it as a fire starter for the fire pit in the back.
Right.
But
we developed it over time. Speaking of crappy tasting water, I got to shout out my boy Michael Lombardi. What's up, baby cakes? What's up, Mauricio? How you doing? So back to crappy tasting water.
Right.
That's interesting what you pointed out about you taking this kind of stewardship on yourself and not waiting, for an opportunity and saying, hey man, I'm going to go get this. This is something early on in you where you were like, this is what I want. I'm going to go after it.
Absolutely.
I'll sacrifice money. I'll sacrifice my time, but I'm setting my sights on something and I'm going after it. And it took a lot at that point in your life to just have that vision and just say, hey, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to leave the place where I live. Were you familiar with Napa or any of that area prior?
I didn't move. Are you being confused and saying I moved to Napa?
No. But
Oh.
just to even embark on
Oh,
that.
no,
I mean, to be
I-
young
no,
and just
no,
say
no,
like,
no.
hey, I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to go
knew
talk
of
to
Napa
people.
Valley.
Right. I mean, but you didn't
No.
know like the streets and stuff. And
Absolutely. I didn't know it
Did
was
you know where
soul out there.
did you know where you were going to stay? Did you?
No, I did
Yeah.
not. I had maybe
Exactly.
1 or 2 nights accommodation booked,
what
and
I'm
the
talking
rest I
about.
just
Yeah.
on the road. Found a hostel here, found a motel, a B&B here and there, and just hit the road. I've done a fortune of traveling throughout my life. I've probably, I don't know, maybe 50 countries around the world.
So you had some
maybe
confidence.
3 years. So
Yeah.
I've been on my own on the road with a backpack on,
Mhm.
and I'm super confident in that regard. And you know what? That's part of the fun, because then you land up meeting so many interesting people. They invite you in. You get to experience things that you had never in your wildest dreams expected or planned for, and that helped create and pave the way for what we do with our spirits and our company. There's really a whole lot of historical travel and relationships that we built and experiences that we've had along the travels that were totally unplanned, that have I look back over time and I say, wow, holy shit. I know why I make this product the way I do is because the influences have been such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you stole my line, man. I was going to say all that. No, that's fantastic. That's really, and that, I think that goes back. You answered the question already. So we can wrap up now, guys. Thank you.
All right. Been watching.
The real, like the spirit and the essence of an entrepreneur is somebody who's willing to take that risk. So being, not risk averse, but also you were on a quest for knowledge. I mean, you wanted a good time too. Obviously you don't go to Napa without expecting to have a little bit of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you were on a quest for knowledge that would turn into something better for you later on down the road, but without like knowing exactly what that is and just saying, I'll survive with water and olive bread.
That's it.
So did you dip the olive bread in the wine like they do on The Irishman? Have you seen the movie yet?
I did see the movie. Yes, I enjoyed the movie.
Was that part of your culinary? Because I'd never seen that before. Maybe that's not true. I might have seen some old time Italian guys. Like when I was coming up in Italian restaurants, I might have seen that and been like, no, not for me. But
never ever done that in my life. Never heard about it. Nothing.
All right, we'll have to check that out.
We'll
take a trip.
Exactly.
We'll go do that.
We'll do the dip.
Yeah, we'll do the dip. Very cool. So when you came back from Napa and that whole experience, did you get the job?
I got the job as a wine captain, and I was one of the top guys over there. I learned an absolute fortune about wine.
Yeah, I bet.
It was super fun. We had a tremendous, one of the best wine cellars in Orange County. I think probably on the west side of the states. At the restaurant, it was actually called the Five Crowns. I'll give them a plug. Nice. And we actually started selling in California. And 15 years, 20 years later, I went to the restaurant last September.
And you're like, buy my absinthe,
and I'm like,
bitches.
hey, listen, I bust tables over here, and I got
you're
the
buying
account.
my absinthe.
Yes, they are pouring out booze at that bar, which is super fun.
That's so awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So also another thing to remember is don't burn bridges, right?
Exactly.
You never know.
Full circle.
Yeah.
100%.
Really awesome. Cool. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be back in a few. Listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.